Pressure looks contained only because the first limits were surrendered quietly without triggering alarm. What feels like stability is often the system deciding before awareness catches up. Confidence forms fastest where evidence is thinnest, and that speed is the earliest misalignment. Smoothness convinces judgment to arrive late, after consequences are already committed. By the time certainty feels present, the remaining options have already narrowed. What follows is not failure, yet only momentum that no longer asks permission. Pressure looks contained only when the first limits have already been surrendered without protest. What shakes at the start is not chaos, it is the system exposing unknown load. Volume arrives faster than judgment, and the line must decide before certainty can exist. Early smoothness is misleading because it often means debris is being carried forward unnoticed. Intake control is never neutral. Every open gate grants permission that cannot be recalled. When flow becomes steady, this early loss is already being normalized as acceptable. Separation begins as refusal, not cleanup, because the stream will defend whatever you let pass. Speed makes mistakes look small until they become untraceable downstream. Air and metal remove what eyes stop noticing, and that blindness is the first failure. A clean surface can still hide a rising baseline of contamination. When the rate holds, the factory feels safe, but safety here is only delayed consequence. Understanding separates operators from observers, because silence often equals missed recognition. Fine cleaning tightens the boundary, and tighter boundaries shrink the room for later correction. Smooth conveyance can be the most dangerous lie, because it disguises accumulating error. Every separator creates an archive of rejects, and that archive defines what the product will become. If the reject stream thickens quietly, it means control is already weakening. The line keeps moving because movement is cheaper than stopping, even when stopping is correct. Precision fails first as tolerance, then as habit. The husking is a commitment point. Once the shell gives way, reversal becomes theoretical. The process looks routine only because damage is distributed across millions of grains. Separation after impact decides whether the factory produces food or produces hidden defects. Stability here is deceptive because the mixed stream can look uniform while still unresolved. Recirculation is not inefficiency, it is the cost of refusing to accept a wrong state. When returns increase, the line is signaling drift before anyone admits it. Each pass narrows variability, and that narrowing makes later failures harder to diagnose. When control looks effortless, it often means the system has stopped detecting new risk. By the time brown rice appears consistent, the factory has already chosen what it will ignore. Silence at this point is permission, because no one can recheck every earlier decision. Whitening trades surface for consequence, removing proof while increasing the cost of mistakes. The cleanest look can be the biggest disguise because it erases the history of rough handling. Abrasive control is measured in small losses, and small losses become policy under high volume. When the stream stays bright, it tempts acceptance before quality is actually secured. Air pulls away what friction creates, and that removal hides how aggressive the line has become. If extraction rises, it means the process is consuming more than it should. Polishing rewards uniformity, but uniformity can simply mean defects have been blended into average. Clarity is misleading because it can be achieved by discarding warning signals. The strongest transformation is also the easiest to rationalize because it leaves fewer traces behind. Momentum replaces scrutiny once the product starts looking finished. Grading is where judgment becomes mechanical, and mechanical judgment is only as honest as calibration. Smooth sorting can be a lie because bad fractions may be living in quieter channels. Rejection does not prove control. It proves the factory is still able to notice differences. When rejects steam too much, it can mean the system is failing to recognize drift. Inspection speed makes certainty feel real, but certainty here is mostly statistical comfort. Understanding separates operators from observers because silence often equals missed recognition. The line does not fear broken grains, it fears unseen grains that pass as acceptable. Stability at this stage is deceptive because the stream is already created to look clean.
polished rice feeds into a length grading cylinder, side view of the rotating drum, followed by interior angle showing grains separating by size.
Conditioning is where finished product is held back, so consequences can surface before release. If the flow comes here, it is not peace, it is the system waiting for latent instability, cooling and equalization, punishing patience, because rushed release turns small variants into complaints. Smooth motion is misleading again, because settling hides the last remaining corrections. Synchronization feels like control, but it is also where a single mismatch propagates everywhere. Loss normalization is complete when the line keeps pace, even while quality quietly drifts. Final approach is not the end, it is the last chance to stop pretending everything matched. The safest moment looks calm because all the risk has already been concentrated into one release. The system has reached its final state, and nothing beyond this point can be adjusted without loss. Few recognize why control ended here rather than earlier, because most signals disappear once stability appears convincing. Recognition separates operators from observers, and silence is where that difference quietly persists.